Let's talk about the watch industry, because if you're in the market for, say, a new Rolex, you have to be prepared to wait, and you also have to be prepared to potentially pay even more for a watch. So we want to talk about what exactly is going on here, not only with Rolex, but also what we're seeing from some of those other high-end watches. And for that, we want to bring in Eric Wind. He's the founder of Wind Vintage. We also have our reporter, Pras Subramanian, joining us as well. Eric, I guess, help us make sense of what's going on. Why is it so hard for some people to get their hands on high-end watches right now?
It's really insane. I never thought we'd see the market like it is today. But over the last, I would say it really started in 2018, where we began seeing watches sell significantly above retail prices for almost every Rolex. So as a result, you go into most Rolex retailers now, they might have 2 or 3 watches for sale at most to the public, typically mid-size or precious metals watches that are very expensive.
Hey, Eric, Pras here. So what do you think really is pushing up demand? Is it because of the fact that we had a COVID, related shutdowns of the factories? Is it because people just want to spend their money now more than before? Or is it just sort of a natural demand for people that want to have these high-end timepieces?
I think it's really a perfect storm. So you have people, there's many more ways to sell these watches online than ever before. So anyone that could buy, for instance, a Daytona or Submariner could easily do it and sell it for thousands of dollars more than they paid. So that's the first thing. I mean, it's kind of like the sneaker mentality with StockX and being able to resell sneakers online much easier. The same is the case with watches. Many more players in the market. The shutdown of the factory last year for a couple months didn't help. When there was already huge demand and lots of people that maybe have more time on their hands, pun intended, and want to spend on luxury goods they can enjoy at home rather than vacations and things like that, which they're not able to do right now. So I think that's really a confluence of these events.
Well, Eric, I know a thing or two about sneakers from what I've got in the back there, but I mean, what it's just kind of transferable between watches and sneakers is that it's the producer that's kind of controlling the supply to make sure that it's a low quantity item that a lot of people want to have. So how much of this is due to actual supply constraints or maybe not being able to find the watchmakers versus Rolex and other watchmakers just deciding we don't want to put that supply out there because we know the demand is out there and we want to preserve that scarcity?
I think from what I understand, Rolex has been on 24-hour shifts for years, other than the COVID shortage. They produce, as we can guess, over 1 million watches a year. They're producing as many as possible with a broad, vertical integration from the metals themselves to the production of the watch. So they're producing as many as they can. Say it's over 1 million watches a year, but you have, many, many millions of people fighting to buy those watches at retail. So they're doing what they can. It's just demand far outstrips supply. And there's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of, there's literally millions of people for the idea of purchasing the million-ish watches they make per year.
Hey, Eric, real quick. I know that you are a big expert on certain specific models, and you can actually go into all the serial numbers and the years and different slight variations and changes. But what do you think are the top, 3 or so 4 models right now that people are really clamoring for and really trying to buy?
Yeah, so it really is the sport model still. For Rolex, it's the Submariner, the Daytona, which, to give an example, there's a model that's called the John Mayer Daytona, which has a green dial in a gold case. That watch retails for about $36,000, and on the secondhand market sells for about $85,000. So you literally buy the watch and you can walk out of the store with $50,000 more in your pocket. Steel Daytonas retail around $13,000. With the white or black dial, they sell on the secondary market for, say, $35,000. And so that's where you get the biggest multiples. But you have, even the Submariners that sell for, sometimes $5,000, $10,000 more than you pay for the retail price. GMT Masters, the Batman and the Pepsi that sell for $5,000 to $10,000 more than you pay. All the models across the board, even Datejusts that typically were something you could always buy, are out of stock in the larger sizes.
Eric, when we take a look at the supply issues and the fact that Rolex, for example, like you were saying, simply can't meet or keep up, I should say, with demand, is this a problem that you see going away anytime soon, or is this something that's going to stick around for years to come?
It seems like unless they're suddenly able to produce 10 times as many watches, which I don't think they can do, nor would they necessarily want to do, we're going to be stuck with these premiums for a long time. I think in the interim, we're seeing them shift a lot more movements into precious metals cases because, like I said, a gold Daytona may be 36,000, but the same watch in steel is 13,000. So they would rather sell you the gold Daytona, and they'll keep pushing the price on that. And they're just going to keep incrementally raising the prices.
All right, Eric Wynn, founder of Wynn Vintage, thanks so much for joining us. And of course, our thanks to Pras Subramanian as well. Don't go anywhere because coming up next, Influencers with David Novak. He's a former Yum Branch chairman and CEO. That gets underway in just 2 minutes.